The Galactic Council freaks out as humans sever all diplomacy. Part 1. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Frank Miller stepped up to the podium. The room was enormous, designed to accommodate representatives from 27 different alien species. Some floated in special tanks, others needed breathing apparatus, and a few were barely visible energy patterns contained in specialized fields. Frank took a deep breath. After 15 years as Earth's ambassador, this would be his final act. He straightened his blue uniform, the small Earth patch on his shoulder, suddenly feeling very important. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice steady, despite his racing heart. For 50 years, humanity has participated in this body with good faith and honest intentions. The alien delegates shifted in their seats. This was supposed to be a routine session. Nothing important was scheduled. Several ambassadors weren't even present. Today, by unanimous decision of Earth's united government, I am here to inform you that as of this moment, humanity is severing all diplomatic ties with the Galactic Council. The translation systems buzzed as his words were converted into 27 different languages. Then came the reaction. A wave of shocked sounds from high-pitched whistles to deep rumbling growls. All human diplomats are being recalled. All treaties are suspended. All council citizens currently in human space have 30 days to leave our territory. There will be no negotiations on this matter. The decision is final. High Counselor Vrax, a tall gray-skinned Telusian with 4 arms, rose from his seat. Ambassador Miller, this is unprecedented. You cannot simply, I can and I have, Frank interrupted. My credentials and diplomatic codes are already invalidated. This podium will be empty at tomorrow's session. Frank stepped away without another word, ignoring the eruption of voices behind him. Protocol officers scurried after him, their tentacles waving in distress, but he walked straight to the exit without looking back. Outside the chamber, his assistant, Judy Clark, waited with their transport ready. It's done, Frank said, loosening his collar as the door sealed behind them. Let's get to the ship. How did they take it? Judy asked, though she could guess from the commotion they could hear even through the thick doors. About as well as a cat takes a bath, Frank replied. Send the signal to begin Phase 2. On the human diplomatic compound across the station, organized chaos had already begun. Captain Alan Summers supervised as staff loaded containers onto transports. They had been quietly preparing for weeks, sending non-essential items ahead so the final evacuation could happen quickly. Sir, a young officer called out. Ambassador Zakatril of the Mendari is requesting entry. Says it's urgent. Alan checked his watch. They were on schedule but couldn't afford delays. 5 minutes, no more, he decided. Security Protocol Alpha. The Mendari ambassador was allowed through the perimeter. Unlike most council species, the Mendari had always been fair in their dealings with humans. Zikatril's skin shimmered with concerned purple patterns as he approached. Captain Summers, the alien said, his translator converting the musical tones into English. What is happening? Why is Earth doing this? Alan kept working as he spoke. I'm just following orders, Ambassador. I suggest you ask your council friends. But we are friends too, are we not? Zikatril's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of distress. If there has been some offense, this isn't about the Mendari, Alan admitted, softening slightly. You've been fair, but the council as a whole has not. I don't understand. You will soon enough. Alan nodded to a security officer. Please escort the ambassador out. We need to finish loading. Back on Earth, in the underground complex beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Susan Bailey watched multiple screens showing the evacuation from different points across council space. Her face remained calm, but her fingers tapped nervously. On the table, Madam President, said Commander Allison Wright, sliding a tablet across the table. The Eagle has landed. Susan picked up the tablet, quickly scanning the encrypted message. So it's confirmed? The Council has been actively working against us? Yes, ma'am. Chief Patterson's team decrypted their secure communications. They've been containing our expansion, limiting our technology, and manipulating our economy for years. The president turned to an older man sitting quietly in the corner. "Greg, how bad is it?" Chief Intelligence Officer Greg Patterson stood up, his weathered face grim under silver hair. "Bad enough to justify what we're doing. The council has been systematically undermining us since we joined. They present themselves as guides and partners, but they're really wardens making sure we don't get too powerful." "Show me," Susan said. Greg activated the main screen, displaying a complex document. "This is from their Inner Security Council, marked at their highest classification level. Our agents took enormous risks to obtain this." On screen, alien text translated into English. "Human technological advancement rate continues to alarm. Their adaptability index exceeds all previous species by 47%. Containment protocols must be expanded. Suggest implementation of Level 3 restrictions on propulsion research." Susan read silently, her expression hardening. "They've been afraid of us all along." "Yes, ma'am. And fear makes people do terrible things. They've sabotaged 3 of our colony ships. Those accidents weren't accidents." The president looked around the room at her most trusted advisors. "Are we absolutely certain about this course of action? Once we go down this road, there's no turning back." Defense Secretary Bill Johnson spoke up. "We've been preparing for 5 years, Madam President. Our supply chains are independent. Our colonies can self-sustain. We've built hidden factories and stockpiled resources. We're as ready as we'll ever be." "And the project?" Susan asked. "On schedule," replied Diane Butler, Director of Special Projects. "The Council has no idea what we've developed while playing nice at their meetings. They think our technology is decades behind where it actually is." The president took a deep breath and nodded. "Then we continue as planned. No going back." In space, aboard the diplomatic vessel Endeavor, Frank Miller watched through a viewport as Nexus Station grew smaller behind them. For half a century, humans had worked to earn their place among the stars. Now they were walking away. His personal communicator chimed. It was a message from Zick Trill, bypassing official channels. It contained only 3 words. "Why, old friend?" Frank closed the message without answering. Sometimes friendship wasn't enough. The evidence was too damning, the betrayal too deep. "Course laid in, Ambassador," the pilot announced. "Ready to jump when you are." Frank gave one last look at the glittering station that housed the Galactic Council. "Take us home." The ship's engines hummed as they prepared for the faster-than-light jump. Behind them, in the council chamber, the panic was just beginning to spread as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't just making a political statement. They were completely cutting themselves off from the galactic community, and the council had no idea what would come next. The Galactic Council freaks out as humans sever all diplomacy. Part 2, the Galactic Council chamber had never been so loud. 2 days after Ambassador Frank Miller's announcement, an emergency session brought together all 27 species. High Counselor Vrax pounded his ceremonial staff against the floor, trying to restore order. "Silence," he shouted, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "We must approach this crisis with clear minds." The noise gradually died down. Representatives from across the galaxy settled into their seats, though tension remained thick in the air. "The human withdrawal is unprecedented," Vrax continued. "We must decide on a unified response." From his elevated podium, Vrax could see the different reactions across the chamber. The warrior Thrax delegation appeared eager, almost hopeful, for conflict. The peaceful Quarians, usually the voice of restraint, seemed unusually agitated. "First," Vrax said, "a situation report. Ambassador Pelk, please update us on the human evacuation." A small, green-skinned being floated to the central platform. "All human diplomatic personnel have departed council space," Pelk reported. "Their embassy on Nexus Station has been completely emptied. They left no communications equipment, no data terminals, nothing. It's as if they were never here." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "What about their merchant vessels?" asked a representative from the Trading Guild. "Over 80% have already returned to human space," Pelk replied. "The rest are rushing to complete transactions before departing. They're selling assets at tremendous losses just to convert to portable wealth." hidden in a service corridor. Behind the chamber, Assistant Director Carol Davis listened carefully. As Earth's final intelligence operative on Nexus Station, her job was to record the Council's true reactions now that they thought no humans were present. Disguised as a maintenance worker for one of the neutral species, she adjusted her hidden recording device. "This is outrageous!" The Drovian ambassador's voice echoed through the chamber. "The humans have violated 16 different treaties with this action." "Perhaps we should reflect on why they left," suggested Zikatrill of the Mindari. "If they felt threatened or deceived, spare us your sympathy for the primitives," interrupted Gorax, the Thrax war chief. His massive, armored form rose from his reinforced seat. "We all know humans have been advancing too quickly. Their withdrawal only confirms they've discovered something they shouldn't have. I propose immediate military containment of their territory." Carol's heart raced. This was exactly the kind of reaction Earth had anticipated. Military containment? Zikatrill sounded shocked. "They've made no aggressive moves. Yet," Gorax growled. "Their ships are already seizing human merchant vessels for inspection. We're merely responding to their hostility." In deep space, far from Nexus Station, Admiral E. Linda Peterson received the distress call from the human merchant ship Northern Star. "This is Captain Ellis of the Northern Star. We're being boarded by Thrax vessels claiming inspection rights. We've offered standard documentation, but they're forcing entry. We need immediate—" The transmission cut off. Linda turned to her. "Communications officer, how many more?" 17 distress calls in the last hour, Admiral, all from merchant ships in Council space." Linda's face hardened. "Deploy rapid response teams to all sectors with reported incidents. Authorized to use minimum force necessary to extract our people." "Yes, Admiral." Back on Earth, Secretary of State Paul Jackson sat at his desk, watching messages flood his system. Pleas, threats, and demands from every Council species filled the screen. Some offered increased trade privileges. Others hinted at military consequences. The Quarians, surprisingly, had sent a detailed list of demands for human containment. Following the protocol established months earlier, Paul hit a single button on his console. To each message, the same response was sent. "The decision of Earth is final. Further communication attempts will not be acknowledged." Then he shut down the diplomatic channels completely. In his office, Chief Intelligence Officer Greg Patterson reviewed the latest reports from Carol Davis at Nexus Station. "Those recordings are gold," he told his team. "The Council is revealing its true nature now that they think we're not listening." "Sir," a young analyst spoke up, "should we warn our remaining agents to evacuate? The mood is turning hostile." Greg nodded. "Send the recall code. Phase 3 is complete anyway. We have what we need." On the frontier world of New Hope, Governor Richard Wilson addressed a crowd of worried colonists. The planet, just 8 years into its development, had relied heavily on Council trade. "I know you're concerned," Richard began, his voice carrying across the settlement's main square. "The alien traders who visited last week are gone. Some of you fear isolation." A woman in the crowd called out, "My brother says the Council might attack frontier worlds first." Richard raised his hands for calm. "That's why we've been preparing. Those extra ships that arrived over the past year, they weren't just carrying farming equipment." He nodded to his assistant, who activated a large display screen. It showed massive defensive installations hidden beneath the colony's surface. "Every human colony has been quietly fortified," Richard explained. "And those supply ships that seemed inefficient, making only half-full deliveries? They were establishing stockpiles. We have enough essential supplies to last 5 years without any outside contact." The crowd's mood shifted from fear to surprise. "Earth didn't make this decision lightly," Richard continued, "and they didn't make it without ensuring our safety. Now let's get to work. The new hydroponic system needs to be expanded by next month." As the colonists dispersed, a small Council observation probe drifted high in orbit, its sensors recording everything. The data would take weeks to reach the Council through regular channels. On Nexus Station, Carol Davis slipped into a maintenance shaft and changed into a different disguise. Her mission was nearly complete. She had recorded the entire emergency session and watched as the Council's mask of civilization slipped away. The recorder, disguised as a simple bracelet, contained enough evidence to justify Earth's actions to any who might question them later. She made her way toward the civilian docks, where she would board a trader vessel as a worker from one of the non-Council species. Just one more day and she would be out of Council space. Meanwhile, the Council chamber continued its heated debate. "We should send a diplomatic mission to Earth immediately," suggested an elder Florian representative. "Perhaps this is all a misunderstanding." "They've made their position clear," said High Counselor Vrax. "No further communication." "Then we must respond with strength," insisted Gorax. "I propose a military blockade of all human space. No ships in, no ships out." The vote was taken. The blockade motion passed by a narrow margin. As the session ended, Catrill approached Vrax privately. "This is a mistake," he said quietly. "The humans wouldn't leave without good reason." "They're an emotional species." Vrax dismissed the concern. "They'll realize their error soon enough." "And if they don't?" Catrill pressed. "If they know something we don't want them to know?" Vrax's four eyes narrowed. "Then the blockade becomes something more." Outside the chamber, Carol Davis heard every word. She sent one final encrypted message to Earth before destroying her communication device. The Council was reacting exactly as predicted. Phase 4 could now begin. The Galactic Council freaks out as humans. Sever all diplomacy. Part 3. 3 months had passed since humanity severed ties with the Galactic Council. The initial panic had settled into a tense standoff. Council patrol ships maintained their blockade around human space while human defense vessels kept careful distance, neither attacking nor communicating. On the Council's central monitoring station, Science Minister Yelna of the Acadians studied the latest sensor readings with growing concern. Her species' 6 eyes blinked in rapid sequence, a sign of deep worry. "Hi, Counselor," she called to Vrax, who had just entered the monitoring chamber. "You need to see this." Vrax approached the large display screen. "What am I looking at?" "Energy signatures from the edge of human space," Yelna explained. "They've been increasing steadily for the past month." The screen showed bright spots of activity along the border of human territory, particularly concentrated in 3 locations. "What are they building?" Vrax asked. "Unknown. The energy patterns don't match any technology we've seen from them before." Yelna adjusted the display. "But whatever it is, it's massive." Vrax's gray skin darkened with concern. "Weapons?" "Possibly. The power levels suggest something significant." Yelna hesitated. "There's something else. These structures appeared too quickly. Based on our assessment of human construction capabilities, this should have taken years, not months." Meaning they started building these before they left the Council. This was planned long ago. Vrax stared at the display, his forearms crossed tightly across his chest. "Increase surveillance. I want to know exactly what they're doing." Deep within Earth's heavily shielded moon base, Director of Special Projects Diane Butler led a group of military and scientific leaders through a massive underground hangar. The centerpiece was an enormous ship unlike any Earth had built before. "Welcome to Project Prometheus," Diane announced, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "The future of human space travel." Admiral Jeff Collins whistled softly. "How did you keep this hidden from Council observers?" "Piece by piece," Diane explained. "Components built in separate facilities disguised as routine construction. Final assembly happened here, where their sensors can't penetrate." Chief Engineer Ken Morris stepped forward, his face lighting up with pride as he pointed to the ship's unusual drive section. "This is what the Council didn't want us to develop," Ken explained. "They've controlled all interstellar travel through established hyperspace routes for thousands of years. It's how they monitor and control every species." "And this bypasses their routes?" asked General Scott Adams. "It doesn't just bypass them," Ken said, grinning. "It makes them obsolete. This drive creates its own pathways through space-time. We can go anywhere, anytime, without using their navigation beacons or jump gates." Diane nodded. The Council has been containing species for millennia by controlling their movement through space. When a new species joins, they're only given access to certain routes, certain technologies. But we figured it out anyway, Ken added. How long until it's operational? Admiral Collins asked. 2 weeks for this prototype, Ken replied. 6 months for the fleet. At the edge of human space, Lieutenant Eric Taylor's patrol squadron monitored the border. His ship, the Sentinel, was one of Earth's newest vessels, though Council intelligence believed it to be a standard patrol craft. Contact, announced his sensor officer. 3 Council vessels approaching surveillance range of construction. Site Alpha. Eric studied the tactical display. Identification? 2 Teleucian scouts and 1 Acadian science vessel. Standard reconnaissance formation. Eric nodded. Activate countermeasures. Let's see if our new toys work. The Sentinel powered up systems that had remained hidden during Earth's time with the Council. Special energy fields extended outward, creating a shell of distorted readings around construction site Alpha. On the lead Council vessel, the commander frowned at his sensor displays. Something's interfering with our scans, he reported to his crew. I'm getting contradictory readings. The humans shouldn't have this level of sensor jamming, his science officer replied, confused. Our technology is superior. Apparently not, the commander said grimly. Retreat to safe distance and report to headquarters. As the Council ships turned away, Eric allowed himself a small smile. They took the bait. Send the success code to command. The Council ships would report exactly what Earth wanted them to. See, hints of weapons development, but nothing concrete. The actual construction, enormous new jump gates that would use Earth's independent hyperspace technology, remained safely hidden. In a distant part of the galaxy, far from Council monitoring, Trader Nancy Harris docked her vessel at a space station that catered to non-Council species. Though the Council claimed to represent the entire galaxy, dozens of independent species existed along the galactic rim, too far from the center to bother with Council politics. Nancy approached a table where 3 different alien traders waited. None were Council species. The merchandise? Asked a tall, spider-like being named Vrisk. Nancy placed a small container on the table. Advanced medical nanites. They adapt to any biology. Worth their weight in radioactives. Another trader, a gaseous entity contained in a mechanical suit, moved closer. The Council restricts such technology. How did you acquire it? Earth doesn't follow Council restrictions anymore, Nancy said simply. And we're looking for trading, partners who feel the same way. The third trader, a crystalline being, flashed with colored light, their form of speech. The Council will not allow this. The Council doesn't need to know, Nancy countered. We've been building these relationships for years, disguised as standard exploration. Now we're making them official. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Trade Administrator Glix presented his report to the Emergency Committee. Economic sanctions against human worlds will not be effective, the small, furry alien concluded. Our initial analysis suggested they would face supply shortages within 2 months, but this has not materialized. Explain, demanded Vrax. They were stockpiling, Glick said. For years. Critical materials, technology components, even luxury goods. They prepared extensively. That's impossible, a Thrax representative growled. We monitored their economy. Closely. Not closely enough, Glix replied. And there's more. They've established trade with Rim species. Independent traders report human vessels making exchanges with the Vrisk Consortium, the Crystalline Collective, and others. The Council members looked at each other in alarm. The Rim species had never been properly brought under Council influence. If humans establish strong alliances there, this changes from a diplomatic incident to a security threat, Vrax declared. Humans are not just withdrawing, they're building an alternative power base. In his private chambers after the meeting, Vrax contacted the Council's most secret agency. On a secure channel, a shadowy figure appeared. The humans know too much, Vrax said without preamble. They've discovered technologies we've been suppressing. They've contacted Rim species. They're building something at their borders. We warned this might happen, the figure replied. Their information-gathering abilities exceeded our estimates. Find out exactly what they know, Vrax ordered. Activate deep cover agents. I want answers before their plan, whatever it is, goes any further. The figure nodded once before the communication ended. What neither knew was that the entire exchange had been recorded by systems put in place years earlier by human intelligence. The data was already streaming toward Earth through hidden channels, beyond the Council's ability to detect. The game was advancing exactly as humanity had planned. The Galactic Council freaks out as humans sever all diplomacy. Part 4. 1 year had passed since Earth severed ties with the Galactic Council. The anniversary was marked by silence across human space. No celebrations, no announcements, nothing to suggest humans gave any thought to the date at all. Then, without warning, it happened. Every communication system across 2,000 worlds lit up simultaneously. Council communication networks, private channels, even personal devices, all received the same broadcast. The face of Dr. Sharon White, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, appeared on screens everywhere. People of the galaxy, she began, her expression serious but calm. My name is Dr. Sharon White of Earth. For the past year, many have wondered why humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council. Today we will answer that question. In the council chamber, representatives scrambled to block the transmission, but nothing worked. Their most advanced technicians could not stop the signal. For 50 years, Sharon continued, humanity participated in the council with open hearts and minds. We believed we had joined a community of equals. We were wrong. The broadcast switched to showing classified council documents, their translation appearing alongside the alien text. These are internal council records, never meant for human eyes. They detail a deliberate campaign to suppress human development, restrict our expansion, and sabotage our colonies. On thousands of worlds, beings watched as evidence unfolded, meeting minutes discussing containment strategies for humanity, orders to restrict technology sharing, reports of council agents interfering with human scientific breakthroughs. 3. Human colony ships lost with all hands, Sharon's voice narrated as images of shipwreckage appeared, officially recorded as navigation errors. These documents show they were deliberately diverted into unstable space by Council navigation beacons. In his private chambers, High Counselor Vrax watched in horror. The humans had accessed the Council's most secured files, things even most Council members didn't know existed. But the Council's betrayal goes deeper than just humanity, Sharon continued. Their manipulation extends to every species that has joined in the last 10,000 years. Captain Joe Martinez stood on the bridge of the Explorer, the first ship equipped with Earth's new propulsion system. His mission had taken him to a star system far from established routes, one that didn't appear on any Council star charts. We're in position, Captain, his navigator reported. Begin surface scan, Joe ordered. The Explorer orbited a dead world. Once it had hosted a thriving civilization, but now only ruins remained. Joe's team had followed coordinates found in ancient records the Council claimed didn't exist. Sir, his science officer called out, excitement in her voice. We've found it. Deep beneath the surface of the dead world, in chambers protected from time and decay, they discovered what they had come for. A vast archive of information left by the civilization that had once lived there. Download everything, Joe ordered, and prepare a sample for immediate transmission to Earth. Back on Earth, Sharon White received the transmission during her broadcast. Without missing a beat, she incorporated the new information. We have just received confirmation from an independent expedition, she told her galactic audience. What we suspected is true. The Council has hidden the truth about its own origins. The broadcast showed images from the ancient archive. Strange. Symbols transformed into modern language. The Galactic Council was not formed as a political body, Sharon explained. It was created with a specific mission, the Precursor Directive. The original council was meant to guide developing species, to help them reach their potential, to prepare the galaxy for some future event the precursors foresaw. She paused, letting the information sink in. Instead, the council became what it is today, a tool to control, to suppress, to maintain power for the founding species. They abandoned their sacred duty millennia ago, betraying not just humanity, but the original purpose they were given. Across Council space, the reaction was immediate and dramatic. Younger species began questioning everything they had been told. Riots broke out on some worlds. Others demanded answers from their representatives. Ambassador Helen Carter sat in her office on Earth, monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Since the broadcast, 7 different species had reached out unofficially, seeking alliance. With Earth outside council structures, it's working better than we hoped, she told President Susan Bailey over a secure line. The Mindari were first to contact us, followed by the Florians. Even the Acadians are sending quiet feelers. And the founding species? Susan asked. Exactly as predicted. The Teleucians are calling for military action. The Drovians have gone silent. The Quarians are in some kind of internal conflict. Seems their population wasn't aware of what their leadership was doing. Within the council itself, the chamber had become a battlefield of words. The senior representatives of the founding species tried desperately to maintain control, while newer members demanded explanations. "These are human fabrications," shouted the Teleucian ambassador. "Doctored evidence meant to destabilize our unity." "Then, explain why our access to these records has been restricted," countered a Florian representative. "Why have we never been told of the precursor directive?" Grand Archon Tlaxvu of the Erodian species, the oldest of the founding members, raised his ancient form from his seat. The chamber fell silent. Tlaxvu rarely spoke at sessions. "The humans have accessed information they should not have," he said, his translator struggling with his archaic dialect. "This creates a problem that must be addressed." "By addressing, you mean silencing," Zq Trill of the Mindari accused. "Just as you've done throughout your history." "The human problem requires a final solution," Tlaxvu continued as if Zq Trill hadn't spoken. "I call for an emergency session of the Founding Council." The implications were clear. The 7 original species that had formed the council would meet privately, without the newer members. There they would decide humanity's fate. As representatives filed out of the chamber, Zq approached the Florian ambassador. "They plan military action," he whispered. "We must warn Earth." "Already done," the Florian replied softly. "Our communication went out during the commotion." Back on Earth, in a secure facility deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, lead scientist Daniel Park made final adjustments to a complex array of devices. "Status report," President Bailey requested from her observation platform. "Network at 97% readiness," Daniel replied. "The last units are coming online now." For years, under the guise of routine diplomatic and trade missions, humanity had placed thousands of small devices throughout council space. Each one alone seemed harmless, a simple communications relay or data storage unit. Together, they formed something much more significant. "What's our timeline?" Susan asked. "The founding species have called their emergency session," Chief Intelligence Officer Greg Patterson reported. "Our sources indicate they're preparing fleet movements. We have perhaps 3 days before they make their move." Susan nodded gravely. "Then we proceed with Phase 5. Alert all commands." This is it. As night fell across Earth, orders went out to every ship, every colony, every human outpost. The final phase of humanity's long-planned response to council betrayal was about to begin. In his lab, Daniel Park looked at the activation key in his hand. "Ready or not, here we come," he whispered, and pressed the button. Throughout council space, thousands of devices activated simultaneously, linking together in a network that bypassed all council control. The true purpose of humanity's plan was about to be revealed to the galaxy. The Galactic Council freaks out as humans sever all diplomacy. Part 5. The 7 founding species of the Galactic Council gathered in their ancient private chamber. This room had not been used in centuries. A circular space with 7 tall chairs, arranged around a central holographic projector. No recordings were permitted here. No observers allowed. "The humans have gone too far," declared the Teleucian representative. They must be stopped before they destabilize the entire galactic order. Agreed, rumbled the Drovian leader. Our fleets stand ready. We can isolate their worlds within days, bombard their defenses within weeks. Grand Archon Tlaxvu of the Eye, Erodians raised a gnarled hand for silence. As the oldest living being in the council, his authority was rarely questioned. This threat is unlike any we have faced, he said, his ancient voice barely audible. The humans have not only discovered our methods of control, but they have also found the precursor archives we thought long destroyed. How did they locate them? Asked the Quarian representative. Those records were wiped from all databases millennia ago. It appears they pieced together fragments from various sources, replied Tlaxvu. Their intelligence-gathering abilities exceed our estimates, but now we must act decisively. The central projector activated, showing a strategic map of human space. Red icons indicated Council warship positions forming a blockade around Earth's territory. Our combined fleets will strike simultaneously, explained the Thrax war chief. First, their outer colonies, then their core worlds. Earth itself will be last. They cannot stand against our unified power. As the Council plotted, they remained unaware that across the galaxy, something unprecedented was happening. On thousands of worlds, in millions of homes, the devices that humans had planted over years began their work. They were not weapons as the Council feared. They created something far more powerful, a direct communication network that bypassed the Council's controlled information channels. For the first time in galactic history, ordinary citizens of every species could talk directly to each other, without Council monitoring or filtering. Lead scientist Daniel Park watched from his laboratory on Earth as the network came alive. Billions of connections formed as curiosity overcame fear. People began to share their experiences, their histories, their grievances with the Council's rule. It's working, Daniel told President Susan Bailey. The communication mesh is stable. 98% of nodes are active. And the translation protocols? Susan asked, functioning perfectly. Everyone can understand each other regardless of language or biology. This was humanity's true plan, not weapons or war, but open communication. For millennia, the Council had controlled what information reached each species, manipulating perceptions and preventing unified opposition. That control was now shattered. In space, Admiral Jeff Collins positioned Earth's defense fleet in a protective formation. Their ships did not advance toward Council forces but formed a shield around the new communication network's key nodes. Council vessels are advancing on our position, reported his tactical officer. They're powering weapons. Hold. Positions, Jeff ordered calmly. Defensive posture only. We're not here to fight unless forced. The lead Council warship launched a salvo of energy weapons, targeting a cluster of communication nodes. Earth ships moved to intercept, their advanced shields absorbing the attack. Return fire? Asked the weapons officer. Negative, Jeff replied. Send the message we prepared. Across all channels in all languages, Earth's message reached the Council ships. We seek no conflict. We protect free communication only. Join us in building a better future for all species. On the planet Mendara, Prime Representative Beth Andrews, a human who had maintained secret contact with the Mendari for years, addressed their World Council. For generations, the Mendari have suspected the Council was not what it claimed to be, she told the assembled leaders. Now you have proof. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The Mendari Council deliberated briefly before reaching a unanimous decision. Their fleet commanders received new orders. Protect the human communication network, not the Council blockade. Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds as younger species chose sides. Some remained loyal to the Council either from fear or genuine belief in its authority, but many others, seeing the evidence humanity had shared, broke away. In the private Council chamber, alarms sounded as reports flooded in. 17-member species have officially withdrawn from the Council, announced a stunned aide. Their fleets are standing down or actively protecting human positions. Impossible, roared the Thrax representative. This must be some human trick. It is no trick, said Tlaxvu. looking suddenly very old. It is the consequence of our own actions over millennia. The truth we buried has emerged. On Earth, 5 years to the day since humanity's withdrawal from the Council, President Susan Bailey stood before representatives from 42 different species. The Grand Hall in Geneva had been specially constructed to accommodate beings of wildly different biologies and environmental needs. Today we gather not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and developing, but as equals, Susan began. The Terran Accords before you establish a new framework for galactic cooperation, one based on open information, shared technology, and mutual respect. The first to sign was Zakatril of the Mindari. My people were fortunate, he said as he applied his mark to the document. We always suspected the Council's true nature, which is why we treated humans fairly from the beginning. Many others were not so wise. One by one, representatives came forward, some eager, some cautious, all hopeful. The old power structure was crumbling. The founding species of the Council found themselves isolated, their fleets retreating to their home systems as allies abandoned them. In a quiet corner of the ceremony, Lieutenant Kelly Martinez of Earth's newly formed diplomatic corps watched the proceedings with wonder. "Did you ever think it would actually work?" asked her colleague. Kelly thought about the question. 5 years ago, she had been a junior officer when Earth began its daring plan. The risk had been enormous. War had seemed almost certain. "I hoped it would," she replied. "But I never imagined so many species would join us so quickly." "It's because we didn't seek revenge," her colleague suggested. "We could have built weapons, attacked the Council directly." Kelly nodded. "Instead, we built connections." The Council's greatest weapon was always isolation, keeping species separated, controlling what information they received about each other. Once that was gone, their power couldn't last. As the ceremony concluded, news arrived from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Ancient species, long thought mythical, had made contact through the new communication network. They spoke of the precursors and a coming challenge that the galaxy would need to face united. The very purpose for which the original Council had been formed was becoming relevant again. But this time, the galaxy would face it together, as equals. Kelly looked up at the stars visible through the hall's transparent dome. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "you have to completely break a relationship to build a better one." Around her, thousands of beings from across the galaxy mingled, talked, and shared ideas without Council censors or restrictions. It was chaotic, occasionally tense but undeniably alive with possibility. The Council had indeed freaked out when humans severed diplomacy. But in the end, that had been exactly the shock the galaxy needed.